In the Arabian Peninsula, people did not mark years with numbers, but with major events. That is why this year, despite centuries passing, was not forgotten and went down in history as the Year of the Elephant. This event occurred just before the birth of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and not only affected the Kaaba, but also became a turning point that changed the course of history. At that time, Abraha al-Ashram, who governed Yemen on behalf of the Abyssinian king Negus, was an extremely powerful, experienced, and arrogant ruler. He commanded a large army consisting of thousands of soldiers, disciplined and well organized. However, what distinguished him from other rulers was his primary strength: war elephants, which had never been seen before on the Arabian Peninsula. These elephants were not only militarily destructive, but also created a psychological impact. Most Arabs had never seen an elephant in their lives, only heard of them. Abraha knew very well that every year Arabs came to Mecca for trade, worship, tradition, and prestige. This made Mecca a strong center economically, socially, and religiously. Abraha decided to break this power by constructing an unprecedented, magnificent church in Sana'a, adorned with gold. His goal was clear: to overshadow the Kaaba and divert people from Mecca to Sana'a. However, what he expected did not happen. People continued to go to the Kaaba. Then, according to narrations, an Arab entered this church and behaved in a disrespectful and insulting manner. For Abraha, this was no longer an ordinary matter. It became a matter of honor and pride. He then swore, "I will not return without demolishing the Kaaba." From this point on, the issue was no longer about politics or economics. It had become a purely personal war of revenge. Abraha prepared a large army, consisting of thousands of soldiers, and according to some sources, at least 9, and according to others, 13 war elephants. At the forefront of the army was a massive elephant named Mahmud, trained and raised for battle. Mahmud had become the symbol of the army. As the army advanced from Yemen toward Mecca, some Arab tribes along the way tried to resist, but these tribes were quickly defeated. This sent a clear message to everyone in the region: this army was unstoppable. When Abraha's army approached Mecca, all the animals in the vicinity were gathered. This had 3 main purposes: to meet the army's food needs, to weaken the Meccans economically, and to create psychological pressure. At this time, about 200 camels belonging to Abdul Muttalib, the most respected and influential person in Mecca, were also seized. This was not a random choice. Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of Prophet Muhammad and leader of Quraysh, was a prominent figure, and seizing his property was a direct show of power against Mecca's honor. When Abdul Muttalib learned that his camels had been taken, he went to Abraha. Tall, majestic, and dignified, Abdul Muttalib impressed Abraha so much that he stood up from his throne and seated him beside him. This was a clear sign of respect toward Abdul Muttalib. When Abraha asked him what he wanted, Abdul Muttalib only asked for his camels to be returned. Abraha was astonished and said, "I have come to destroy the Kaaba, and you ask for your camels?" To this, Abdul Muttalib gave a response that went down in history. "I am the owner of the camels. The Kaaba also has an owner. He protects it." These words were not an expression of fear, but of absolute trust and submission to Allah. The people of Mecca did not fight because they were too few, their weapons were insufficient, and it was impossible to confront the war elephants. Abdul Muttalib withdrew the people to the mountains and entrusted the Kaaba entirely to Allah. Human intervention was completely eliminated at this point. When Abraha gave the order to attack, the elephant named Mahmud turned toward the Kaaba, but did not move forward. They tried to force it, beat it, and pull it, but the elephant did not take a single step toward the Kaaba. When turned in other directions, it moved easily. This was no coincidence. It was a divine prevention. At that moment, the sky darkened, and flocks of ababil birds appeared. These birds were not large or frightening, but they carried small stones made of baked clay in their beaks and feet. Although the stones were small, they were extremely scorching. Each stone hit a specific soldier, destroying his body from the inside, separating flesh from bone. The Quran describes this event as making them like eaten straw. The army panicked, dispersed, and fled. Abraha also tried to escape, but did not succeed. His body began to fall apart, and he died on the way before reaching Yemen. This event occurring just before the birth of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was no coincidence. Allah wanted to show the Arabs that the Kaaba was directly protected by him. Thus, when the Prophet came, they could more easily understand that this house and this message were not coincidental. Abraha relied on numbers, power, and elephants, but he forgot one truth: no power can stand against Allah. And that year, the last prophet was born. I will narrate the details of Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, birth in the next video. Throughout this series, I will cover all significant events from his birth to his passing, exploring unknown aspects and historical details. If you don't want to miss this journey from beginning to end, make sure to follow the channel. Don't miss this series.